A very good evening to all of you and welcome back to our channel The Teacher. This is Rajiv, and in this Tally ERP9 tutorial I will show you that how you can configure voucher entry from single entry mode to double entry mode or vice versa. As voucher entry is the most important part in Tally ERP9, so you must have to know that how you can configure the voucher entry method, so you can choose between if you want to add a single entry mode vouchers or double entry mode vouchers. So it is totally up to you if you want to use the single entry mode or double entry mode. And what are the benefits of doing this, I will show you in this tutorial. So let's get started, and I will select with my previous company which we have created in our previous tutorials, that is Kohli Computer Institute. So here we have three voucher types mainly, which are contra for F4, payment for F5, and receipt for F6. And here if you see at bottom right corner, then you will see here a option here, F12 configuration or configure. If you press this button F12, then you will get this screen where you can configure the voucher entry method. And on second line you can see that use single entry mode for payment, receipt and contra vouchers. So basically the single entry mode is only available for payment, receipt and contra vouchers, and for journal, sale and purchase you can switch between invoice mode, and the journal voucher is by default is a double entry voucher. Let me show you that. If you are using F4, then you can see that we have accounts on top and particular on bottom, where I have shown you in my previous tutorial that in contra the account side is debited by default and the particular side is credited by default. And if you go to the payment voucher F5, then the account side is credited by default in payment voucher and particular is debited by default. And in receipt, the account side is debited by default and particulars is credited by default. But if you see F7 journal voucher, the journal voucher is not the same as contra, payment and receipt, and you are seeing here the buy and two entries, whereas in contra, payment and receipt you don't see any to or buy or credit or debit side. You just have to fill the account's name and these voucher will automatically debit or credit the particular accounts. So and if we see the sale vouchers, then you can see that it is like a invoice where you are being asked for party name and particulars that you want to fill for the sale. And if you go for F9 purchase voucher, then you can see here it is also like a voucher entry, but you can change this purchase voucher to as invoice as well. And while standing inside the contra, payment or receipt vouchers, if you press F12 key, then you will see this screen. So do note that if you are standing inside, let's say F8 sales voucher, and now if you press F12 for configure, then you will see a different screen. So it is, these options are very much depends on the voucher type you have selected in the previous screen. Like if I select F4 contra and now I press the F12 key, then you will see this screen. So this screen might appear different for different voucher entries. So here on top in the second line you can see that entry, use single entry mode for payment, receipt, contra vouchers. So if I set it to no, then and save the changes by pressing the enter key up to the end, or if you are changing an option, let's say I set it to yes and I don't want to change any rest of the features here, then you can directly press Ctrl A key to save all the changes. So now I press F12 here in the contra entry vouchers and set this single entry mode to no and press Ctrl A to save the changes. So now as I have changed this option, you will see that the voucher type has changed to double entry mode, where you will now see the to and buy entries. So let's say here I am going to credit the cash 100 rupees and set Punjab National Bank in the buy side or debit side 200 rupees. And here you are being asked for the transaction type and bank allocation details. I will let them default and save the changes. And again if I go to the payment voucher F5, you are also seeing here buy and to, where in the payment voucher buy is on top and here I will credit the printing and stationery for 10 rupees and cash 10 rupees. So what is the difference between changing the single to double entry mode? So let's say I am going to open two new ledger accounts, account information, ledger, create. One will be the entertainment account, inside expenses interact, and another will be office expenses account, inside interact expenses. So on 2nd of the May I spent 100 rupees on two ledger accounts. The first one is office expenses for 50 rupees and the second one is entertainment for 50 rupees. So in double entry mode, what you can do here, you can add as many ledgers as you want in a single vouchers, just like this. In the buy side I will type office expenses 50 rupees, then it is asking for two side. Either you can tell the two side first, like here cash, but I have spent 100 rupees on the same date, so I want to add a single voucher for both entries. So here I will change the cash amount to 100 rupees. So as both of these amounts are not matching, then Tally will again ask you that where you want to debit the rest of the money, that is 50 rupees. So here I can tell that on entertainment, and it automatically calculated the balance amount and showing you the balance amount here. So if I change it to 25 rupees, let's say, then it will again ask for the buy side. And now if I add another expenses here in the printing and stationery and change this value to 50 rupees, that is more than the credit amount 100 rupees, and then it will again ask for the two side, because in Tally both debit and credit side should be matched with the total amount. So here you can see that in the debit side we have 125 rupees, whereas on the credit side the total is only 100 rupees. So that is the difference of single and double entry voucher modes. In single entry, let me change the mode to single entry again, yes, and save the changes by pressing Ctrl A. So here if I want to add multiple entries in the same date for payment, then what I can do here, I can credit a ledger account here like cash, and then I can add as many ledgers I want here. So it seems easy that the single entry mode is much better than the double entry mode, but let me show you the difference one more time. So I will again change it to double entry by setting it to no. And now if I here one more thing I would like to tell you, that as it is showing you by default buy and two sides, but let's say you like to see credit and debit instead of to and buy, then you can also change that in the configure window by pressing the F12 key, and after setting it the single entry mode to no, you can change this option here, use credit debit instead of to buy during entry, set it to yes, and now you will start seeing debit credit instead of to buy. So let's take another entry here. So here I am adding an entry of office expenses amounting to rupees 5,000, but I have spent 2,500 rupees cash and 2,500 rupees by check. So here what I can do, I can add entry like this, credit cash 2,500 rupees, and then it will again ask me for the rest of the amount, and here I will credit Punjab National Bank 2,500 rupees. So that cannot be done in single entry mode. So if you want to add the same entry in single entry mode, let me set it to yes again, then you can't do that in the single entry mode, because on the top in the account side you can only fill one ledger account, like let's say cash account. So if you are crediting the cash, then in single entry mode you can only credit the cash account. You can't credit cash and bank in the same single entry mode. So that is the main difference. And let me tell you one more feature of that is concerning with the voucher entry, and that is on the top, skip date field during creation for faster entry. You might have seen through my previous tutorial as well that whenever I change the voucher type, then it never asks me for the date section, whereas it can be seen on the top right corner, but you never have to move to the date section because it skipped that section by default, and if you want to change the date you have to press F2 key for date. But you can change the Tally configuration and ask Tally to always ask for the date first when you enter a voucher. And to configure this you can press F12 key and here set this option to no. Skip date field during creation for faster entry. Save it by pressing Ctrl A, and next time when you will add any voucher then you will be asked for the date first. So that is how you can change this setting. And one more thing I would like to tell you here, that you might have seen that when I was adding a bank voucher, like let's say Punjab National Bank office expenses 10 rupees, then you are always asked for the transaction type under bank allocations 4. So if you don't want to fill this bank allocation every time when you enter a bank voucher, then you can also configure these options in F12 screen. Press the F12 key and here you can set this option, use default values for bank details, set it to yes, and the next time when you will enter a bank voucher then it will not ask you any details and will get saved directly. So that is how you can configure single or double entry mode vouchers in Tally ERP 9, and I hope you will like this tutorial. Let me know by liking, sharing and commenting on this video, and you can also subscribe to our channel for more upcoming tutorials.